Hello guys, I'm back. I don't know if you can hear me right now, but my PC just decided to shut down. So yeah, I open it up. Give me 1 second to put everything up to normal. Uh, what's going on? Let's check. Okay. Yeah, it's very weird. It was the first time when yeah, when the MacBook decided just to shut down for no reason. Um, yeah, thank you guys for joining back. I need like 1 second to set up everything and we can get back to what we were doing. Hi Dinesh, hi Alexandra, thanks for joining. So yeah, that happens when you stream, you develop, you have a bunch of Google Chrome videos, Google Chrome tabs opened on a MacBook, just on a MacBook. But it is what it is. We can't change it. So I'm waiting until yeah, the emulator will start, but we can start. We can continue with defining our schema for our backend. And I don't know why it doesn't show up. Hello? Schema. That's very interesting. I'm gonna reopen it and see if it works. Yeah, right now it works. So we defined our album category with ID, title, and the albums. Now we want to declare the album model. I hope that you can hear me well. I didn't check. Yeah, the microphone is set up. Can you confirm that everything is all right and we can continue? I'm a bit stressed. Some water and we can move. Yeah, for the album we declare that it have an ID, it has a name, a by, like who created it. Number of likes will be a number. Number of likes will be number. If I'm not mistaken, is like this number, or is it integer? Int. Yeah, I guess so. We'll see. Apollo will say. Image URI will be image URI. It's gonna be a string representing the URL. Sorry. Image URI. Artist headlines will also be. Yeah, let me close Xcode right now. I hope not to crash my laptop again. Artist's headline. This will be a string as well. What else? And the songs. The songs. Songs. We can declare it here. Will be an array of songs type that we are gonna define pretty quickly, and we need to define the connection between two models. So the key name will be by album, and the local fields will be the ID of album. Okay, now we need to define the relationship between album and the album category. And we said that we're gonna have like an album category ID. Let's do it like here. So album category ID will be an ID, and an album category will be the type that we defined previously, and that's a connection based on the field's album category ID. So from an album, we will be able to get information about the album category because we define it here as a connection. And yeah, that's it for our album. Yeah, let's leave it like this. So the next one, Razorpay is best option, I guess. I don't know what's Razorpay. So the last model to define is song. So instead of a comment, we will have song. Model will be, it will have a key by album that we defined here. No, I mean we define here, but we access it here, and the fields will be album ID, and that's it. Album ID. So the song will have ID, of course. It will have album ID. It will have, we need information about the album itself, which is a connection based on the album ID. It will have image URI, and title. So before this one, image URI will be a string. Image URI, what else? Just URI for our song itself, again string. Title will be a string. And artist will also be a string for now. Yeah, we can have a separate model for the artist and have a relationship, but we are not gonna get into that many details. I think with everything we have right here, I can pretty much show you how it is done, the creation of relationship, and you can go and implement more, for example, a separate model for the artist. Content we don't need. So we have songs, we have okay. Yeah, I hope that that's everything we need. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, album is not a post, album is an album, and here we say album. Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, right now let's go back to our documentation. Where is it? Yeah, here. Alexandra, line 29, album. Yeah, of course. Thank you very much that you saw. That's the power of pair programming. So let's go to here. Yeah, we define our model, and the next thing that is left is to actually push our changes to Amplify. So all the services that are there will be created in the cloud. So let's go ahead and try to do that and see if we didn't make any mistakes. Amplify push, and it's gonna take a while until all the services and all the necessary resources are created in AWS. It will ask us to confirm that we created only the API. Yes. Unknown songs. Did you mean song? Yeah, of course I meant song, but where did you say? Yeah. Songs will be an array of song. Of course. Let's look how nice the error message is. Like, it even says like, did you mean song? That's nice. I hope that JavaScript implements such error messages, and the life of a JavaScript developer will be much easier. So, do you want to generate code for your newly created GraphQL API? Yes, we want to do that. In which language? TypeScript. Enter the file name pattern of GraphQL queries. Okay, let's do enter. Do you want to generate, update all possible GraphQL operation? That's query, mutation, and subscriptions. Yes. The maximum statement depth, let's leave it to 2. And the file name source API TS is okay. I started learning React Native. Can you recommend me the best way or source to learn React Native? Yeah, as I always say, like practice, 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 and that's the whole secret. Like, maybe don't try to find the perfect solution or the perfect tutorial, because that way, like, you're procrastinating and you put the emphasis on, okay, I don't have a perfect solution, or I don't have a perfect source, but rather go through. I'm pretty sure you can find a lot of tutorials on the internet for free on YouTube about React Native, and start by just building things. Like, look at some tutorials to get an overview and an idea of how things works, but don't spend a lot of time into this phase, and start by working on projects. That doesn't mean that you have to do them yourself, because all the tutorials that you see like will provide you some examples, and follow along, like to try to do it yourself. And once you manage to do what the person explaining is doing, try to change it a bit and do it on your own. I don't know, in the beginning it will be, okay, I want to change the background color, like how to do that. You change the you search on Google like how to change the background color React Native. You see that, you change, and that's how you learn. Then it's gonna be like more changes, like, okay, Vadim right now is doing in one way, but I want to implement like also, I don't know, skipping songs or moving songs or volume and stuff like that. You follow along what I'm doing. If you manage to do that, you do more, like you learn, you search on Google like how to do that, and that's the only way you can learn. And that's the actual way I learned. I remember I wanted, like around 6 years ago, I wanted to do games, and I was watching like Brackies on YouTube. Maybe some of you knows. Recently he posted a video that he stops doing videos for YouTube, and that was a tier for a lot of game developers. So I was following one of his tutorial, like word by word. He was doing something, I was copying in my code and doing the same thing as he was doing. It was a very simple game, like true and false. It gave you a question, a statement, and you should choose if it's true or false. And I did it based on his tutorial. And at the end, I changed a bit just the colors of the buttons. I changed something that I felt comfortable changing, and I provided. I worked a bit on finding a lot of facts, and I provided like around 500 facts into that game. So it was a lot of data there, and that's the thing that I did myself. I mean, everything else was copied from Brackies. Then I continued myself and improved what I already created. And then what I did, I published that game on market, and in a couple of months I received my first check of $100. And during the next like couple of years I received 3 or 4 such checks of $100. So I made around like $400-500 out of that game, that I just followed the tutorial. I changed a bit of the game, I published it, and I made money. I learned definitely how to make games in Unity, and the next one was I did it myself. So yeah, that's how you learn. That's how you do it. Brekis had some nice Unity tutorials to my computer couldn't keep up. Yeah, I the last years I didn't watch it because I'm not into game development at the moment. But like 4 years ago or something like that, I was watching a lot of Brekis, and he's really nice. Like, sad that he stopped doing YouTube. So guys, our Amplified pushed all the resources to AWS, and if we want to check that, we can write Amplify, not here of course, Amplify console, enter, and this will open the page of the project on our AWS console. Yeah, we see our Spotify app here. We see all the activity that we completed, like we created, everything was created successfully. Here is like categories added. We see the API was added, and if we check the API, we see that it links to a different AWS service, and that specific service that is handling all the API is called AppSync. And if we open it, oh, that's such an inspirational story. You need to make a video on this. That's a very good idea. Let's not forget it. Yeah, why didn't I make a story or a video about that? Okay. A video about the game copy pasted from Brekis. Yeah, stay tuned and probably I'll give more details about that. Yeah, we see our GraphQL API here. We can check the schema, and this is like based on the schema that we define, but it of course adds more information. For example, it adds created that, updated that, it adds all the inputs. For example, a input for album category, like everything that we need, like 300 lines of code was generated, and we wrote how much? We wrote 30 lines of code. So I'm not using Amplify in my project, so everything that you see here I have to create myself. I didn't know about Amplify when I started it, so yeah, that's the advantage of Amplify. It generates everything for you based on what you give it. So okay, we have that one. What we want to do, we need to create some data in our database before displaying it. And in Spotify, we don't have any like mutations or post request, like creating a song or stuff like that, because that doesn't come from the user side, that comes from the artist side. So I'm not sure how that is done, and we're not gonna get into the details of that, but instead we're gonna upload all the data manually through AWS portal. Let me make it bigger. And after that, we're gonna query and display these songs in our application. So creating, we'll do it here manually and not from the application. Querying we'll do from the application. So here, query, there is a query, for example, list album categories. And in the items, let's select what fields we want to display. And we run, we see that we don't have any items at the moment. Okay, that means that let's select a mutation, and a mutation is like a post request. When we want to edit or add some new data, we work with mutations. So let's add mutation, new, let's call it new album category. New album category. It's gonna be create album category. For the input, input here, the title, we need to provide the title. So let's say happy tunes. Yeah, like this will be a bit more space. Yeah, we have it here. Let's run it. New album category. We see that it was created with the ID. If we want to get the title, we indicate here that we need title. Yeah, you can also like select it from here, but I'd rather write it the direct query. So let's create a couple of new album categories. So one is happy tunes, I don't know, lo-fi, create podcasts, and one more. What do you say, guys? I don't know. Rock. Okay, we created our albums. Now I will delete everything from here and I would go with a mutation instead. The next thing, okay, we created album categories. We need to create albums now and put them into categories. So creating albums, we will need all the inputs: ID, image, name, number of likes, and so on. So the album category ID, we need to provide it an album category that we just created. Not a mutation. Let's add a new query here for the list album categories, and for the items we will need ID and title. Let's run my query. Let's call it list album categories. And yeah, we can copy the ID of the first category from here, paste it in our album category where we want to create artist headline. Let's say okay, but yeah, we don't need to provide an ID because it's auto-generated. For the image URI, let me just copy an image from here. Data, album details. Yeah, let's take this one. Paste name of the album. And number of likes, let's leave it to 10. Okay, let's create it. And that's by running the mutation. Yeah, it was created. And right now let's just change the album category ID and to have multiple albums, so not to waste a lot of time. So let's add one to the podcasts by changing the ID here. Let's add one more here, and probably that will be enough for us to work with. If we want to display more data, we'll come back and add more data, but that's gonna be more than enough just to start working, because adding this data is a boring part. I understand, guys. Just hold with me a couple of more minutes and we're gonna add this data and we're gonna connect our front end with data and query it from here. So let's get a list of albums, and we need only the name of album and ID. So my query to this is list of albums, and let's add some songs to this album. So let's create a new mutation. Where is it? Yeah, the first one, I think. Create song, input album ID will be the one that we just copied. Artist, of course I am the artist. By the way, guys, one question for you. What type of music are you listening to while coding? That's something very important to me, and if you can share with me while I am adding the latest data here. And even if you do you listen music while you are coding or learning? And the URI for the song, we're gonna take it somewhere from our components layer, and here we should have this URI. Okay, let's add it. Okay. And I want a different one. I want one more, but I have to also upload another song to be able to see that we can play different songs. So I'm gonna go to S3. Yeah, go to S3 if you want to upload different songs and get a URL. You can actually upload them, I don't know, to any services and get just a URL, but I suggest you to go to S3. That's pretty much free for a couple of songs, for a lot of songs. So create a bucket, give it a name. I already created just a random bucket here. I uploaded my song there, and I'm gonna upload one more. Add file. One second, where is it? So, projects. Don't remember which one. Yeah, let's add this one. Next. And here we want to grant public read access to this object, so it's gonna be able to play publicly without any permission issues. Standard upload. I hope I uploaded a different one. Okay, yeah, it's a different one. Let's open it and copy this URL. Let's go to AppSync back, and for the URI, let's paste the new one, and for the title, let's add, yeah, this one. Okay, let's run the mutation. I hope that I did it correctly. Okay, right now let's just call a query on our where is it, to be sure that we created the album correctly. So get list albums, and in the albums we're gonna say yeah, let's say yeah, ID, name, and also a list of songs from that album. So artist, ID, and title. Let's run the query. How is it called? My query free. So yeah, we have a list of albums. This is one album without any songs. This is a second album and it has a list of songs. And that's what I was explaining you guys, that using one query, we can get like relationships of data. So in a REST API, first of all, you will do a query on a list of albums. So you'll have ID of album, you'll have a name of album. And then based on ID of album, you'll do one query for each album and get the songs. But this way we can take the relationship, and with one query we can get the albums with their songs, and we can actually nest these objects down below. For example, from a song we can go to the album that it belongs, and so on. So we have this data. I hope that would be enough for us to integrate. So yeah, without further ado, I think we should get into the heavy code. Actually, it's not that heavy, and you'll see that it's pretty simple to do. First of all, let's run our application again. Run start. And run it on iOS simulator. Okay, let's close everything. And what should we start with? I think with the screens, and our home screen has album categories that we take from the data. And instead of taking it from the data, we would want to query this data from our API. So we see that album categories here is an array of albums, and each array of categories, and each category has multiple albums. So we will do, for example, a query like where is it? Yeah, let's, in our case we need a list album categories, and from the items we will need like ID, created at, title, and that's it probably. And for the albums in each category we will need also like ID, image URI, and artist headline. And with this query we will be able to display the home page, like it has all the albums with all the categories with all the albums in it. So yeah, let's start. Let's pause the music, and here in our home screen let's start importing the thing that we will need. So import API and GraphQL operation from AWS Amplify, and we need to import the query that was generated automatically in the source GraphQL folders. So instead of writing all these queries manually, Amplify generated all of these queries for us. So that's easier to get started, but if you need fine-grained control over what data you are receiving, for example here, if you want only ID and title, then you'll just write this query in your code. However, we see all the queries that we need here generated automatically. So there is like get album category by ID, list album categories with items, albums, and so on. And I already see that there will be a problem here. because album has only like next token, but we need more information about the album. So we're gonna come back and edit it here. So we need to import these list categories from our queries into our home screen to be able to run it. Import, okay, from source GraphQL queries, and the query is called list album categories, right? No, it's list. Yeah, it was generated with a typo. Okay, we have list album categories. Now we need to run this query. So when do we run the query? Whenever the component mounts, and that's why we use a use effect. Sorry. And we pass an empty array to the second parameter to call this one only the first time that the component mounts. And here we'll say like, I don't know, fetch album categories. We'll call that function, and let's define this function here, like const equal to async. Okay, here in this function, we will put everything into a try catch, because we are doing an API call and we never know what might happen with the call. Maybe the server is not up or something like that. So we want to make sure that it's in a try catch, not to crash our application. So I don't know, const data will be equal to API GraphQL, and here we'll send the GraphQL operation the list album categories. And let's console log the data and see what we receive. I will save it, automatically refreshed, and if I go here and select iPhone, yeah, we see it's a promise, because Vadim is stupid and didn't await for the result. So await, let me put it this way so you can see the whole line. Let's save right now. Let's go here. Yeah, and we can see that our data object has a list of album categories and a list of items, and that items will have the array of each category. So we need to store this data that we receive from the server into a state variable, and to do so we will say we will use state hook. So categories and set categories will be equal to use state, and in the beginning let's say that it's an empty array. Okay, when we receive a data, we want to set categories to data dot what is there, data, I think it's data dot data, yeah, data dot data dot list album categories dot items. Yeah, it's a lot of boilerplate. Dot data dot list album categories dot items. I think that's how we do it. Let's save. And we need to pass these categories to our flat list. Instead of album categories, we will pass it these ones. Let's save, and we can see that try to get frame for out of range index. Let me try to console log this. Yeah, this one, console log and see what we get. Yeah, this is an array of albums created at ID, title, updated at. I think it might be because of how we handle the albums. So first of all, in these queries we need to add some more information about the albums, because we need like ID, image URI, and title. Is that ID, image URI, and title, or name? Yeah, it's name, not title. Let's save this query. That's for the list album categories, and check what we receive right now. Yeah, right now albums have a list of items, and each item is a separate album. The only thing is home screen. Let's check. Okay, albums in our case is item.albums.items. Yep, that's how we render it. So we see that we added 4 categories. We see all of them. We see multiple songs in some of the categories that we added, that we were not lazy to add. So yeah, the home screen is fully working, and the data is coming from the API. So we can, if we add a new song to the Lofi, for example, we'll see it displayed there. So let me try to grab a different image. What do you say? Let's try this one. A different image, and mutation, where is it? Yeah, for the first one, let's do create list album categories. That's the first one. Yeah, that's what we need, an ID, and create album. We'll say album ID this one. Artist headline, it's okay. And for the image, let's set another image to be able to see that the images are also dynamic. So create album. Okay, I guess that's it. And if we go ahead and do some changes and save, we can see that now our first category has 2 albums with a different image. One thing that I see missing is the artist headline, and I think that instead of a name here, we need to get the artist headline, because that's what we display in the home screen. Save. Yeah, right now we see the artist headline that we defined. Okay, that's good. The next page is the album page. The one when we press on an album, it opens, but right now it displays dummy data. So let's close all. In our screen, we have the album screen, and here we have a flat list with album details song, and album details we take right now from the data, which is hard-coded album details. Okay. Let's start importing our data that we need. So we need the API and GraphQL operation from AWS Amplify, and we will need a query get album from source GraphQL queries, and the query is get album, not album details. It's get album. Yeah, it's get album. And okay, we have console log route because whenever we go to an album, we send the ID of the album. So if we look here, yeah, this is our route object, and we have params and ID, and this is the ID of the album that we need to query is in the route.params.id. So we can actually define it here. Album ID is route dot params dot id. So if we console log the album ID and refresh it, and yeah, press on an ID on an album, yeah, we see the album ID here. We will shortly need this album ID because we will need to start fetch album details, and this is going to be a function fetch. I'm gonna copy paste because I'm lazy, and it's gonna be an async function. And again, we put everything into a try catch because we want to call to do a network call, and just to be safe, console log e. So here const data will be equal to await API GraphQL, and here GraphQL operation, and we need to send the get album. But the difference between the previous query and this one queries, the previous one was list album categories. We didn't need to send any variables because we need just a list of all the categories. However, the get album has a variable like ID, which means like which album you want to fetch. And to provide this information, we give a second parameter to the GraphQL operation, and here it's an object with the variables. So we need an ID, which will be the album ID from the route. Now let's console log our data to see if we didn't make any mistakes. Save it, go here, and we already see the data printed out. So it's data.getAlbum. There is an album category, there is the songs, a list of songs, and so on. So again, let's take this data and set it into a state. So const album set album will be equal to use state. Initially it will be a null value. Let's import the use state. How are you doing, guys? Are you still up? Are you following? Are you tired? Okay, we don't have a lot more. Like, I think this is the last page and some changes to the player, and we'll have our application working. So yeah, let's set album to data.data.get album. Yeah, that's it, like data.get album. That's the object that we need to set. Come on, boy. And here, let's say if album is still null, that means that we are still fetching in the beginning. Let's return like return I think there is a loading indicator in React Native. Loading indicator. No, there is not. I don't think there is one there. That's something from our project. So let's just return a text. Come on. Loading. And if there is an album, we'll return a flat list of album songs dot items. That's where our array list of songs live. Render item, that's okay. List header, album details. Let's try to save. Yeah, this one doesn't have any songs and doesn't display correctly the image, right? Yeah, but the songs are displayed correctly. We see that the second album displayed two songs that are different, and those are the songs that we added. Maybe you could add more songs and albums after the stream and create a short video like overview of the result. Yeah, I'll try to do that. Yeah, and probably I will publish this application with some songs. I don't know. We'll see. Will I need Android SDK when deploying Expo made apps? You will need Android SDK when working with Expo just for, you'll need just the Android emulator. So you don't need the actual SDK, because using Expo, that's another advantage, that there is no native code to build. So you don't need Android SDK. Oh, my voice is cracking. Sorry. Yeah, that was activity indicator. Yeah, thank you very much. I missed that one. So songs are displayed correctly. Only the name of the image doesn't display correctly. Album header. Let's go into our album header. Props, album, image URI. Oh, we need album, not album details. Come on, Vadim. Yeah, save. And now we see yeah, the names, the likes displayed with the image. Everything is working correctly. The songs are displayed here. So everything for us is connected to our backend. So I didn't have time to provide more data in the backend. So if you're doing that, yeah, that's a separate task for you to add more data and to see how it works, to add more categories, songs and albums and so on. And when you do it, show it to me and I will give you feedback. So the last thing that remains is to be able to press on a song and for it to start playing here, and also play on another song and for it to start playing here, and so on. Yep. Where is, yeah, here, song, no, album screen. Yeah. So let's have a look at our plan that we have. Yeah, we created our API database. We connected everything with our UI. So our UI fetches all the data from the Amplify from a GraphQL API. And the next thing is I want to implement the dynamic player widget. And that means that whenever we play on the song, it will play and select that specific song. And we'll do that with app context. We'll save a currently playing song globally. And yeah, without further ado, let's jump into it. Please implement pagination too. In this video, probably I will not have time to implement pagination. That's actually a very good topic, like more advanced topic for you guys to implement pagination. For example, if we have a lot of songs, we don't want to query them all at the beginning, but to query like first 10, and then when we scroll the next one and the next one and so on. Another question, how can one implement recently played? Recently played is gonna be, you can save the recently played. There are two options. You can save it in database. So whenever we play a song, we do a mutation and we write the song ID into database. And after that, we query the database and display these songs in a list. Or we save it locally on the user's device if we don't want so much data in our database. Then we can save it on the device. And the same, when the song plays, we write the ID on the device with async storage. When we want to display, we read that IDs, query them from the database, and that's how we display it. So guys, let's implement our dynamic player. So for that, as I said, I'm gonna use app context, the context API from React, to save a currently playing song. So let's define a new file, app context.ts or JS if you're using JavaScript. Murali, world-class tutorials, appreciate, brother. Thank you very much. I hope that it helps you and it's not just entertaining but also educational. So yeah, let's yeah, I have some notes here, not to forget what to do. Okay, yeah, let's so context, let's define the context. And in our context, we need to save a song ID. And whenever we press, we need to actually set the song ID in the context. So to do that, we'll provide a function for that, set song ID, which by default will be like an empty function. We'll define the logic a bit later. So export const app context equal to react.create context, and we're gonna provide this object context. Yeah, let's import React. Okay, this is like only the definition of our context. We need to provide it to our application, and to do that, we're gonna open app.tsx. We're gonna import app context from the file that we just declared from app context. And here our context will have a provider. So it's gonna be app context dot provider, and we need to wrap everything into this context provider. And for this context provider, we need to define a value, like what song ID means, like which song ID to provide and which function to provide. So let's provide these values. Value will be an object with song ID, which will be something, and set song ID, which should be an arrow function, and yeah, it should do something. So what it should do, it should save the song ID into a state here in the application, and whenever we want to change it, we are gonna send the setter from the state. So the currently playing song will be saving the state of our application, and that's how we make it a bit more global, to be able to access it from different components, from a list component and from the widget that is completely in a different part of the application. That's why we need this global like state management, not quite state management, but yeah. So song ID and set song ID use state. It's gonna be a string or a null, and initially it's gonna be a null. So to our provider song ID, we give song ID. However, in ES6, if we have this syntax like song ID and the value song ID, we can simplify it by saying like song ID. I forgot one more bracket here because it's an object. And set song ID is gonna receive a new ID, and we're gonna call the setter of this setter. Let's not forget to import the state. What's wrong here? Is not a symbol of type null. Yeah, that's here. We need also the ID to be sure that it's the same structure as here. And also we can provide the type of it, same as here. Forgot the arrow function, and here a comma. Okay, we provided our context. Now we need to consume it, which means that to consume this setter in our list item component and set a new song ID, and to consume the song ID in our widget. So let's go ahead and go into our components, song list item. And here we should say like whenever we press on a song, we need to set it to our context. So first of all, let's put everything into a touchable without feedback. I'm gonna copy everything and put it inside. Let's not forget to import it from React Native, and on press we're gonna call a function on song play, or on just play, on play. Let's define this function here. Const on play will be equal to a function, and here let's first of all console warn a message to be sure that we are receiving this. What's going on? Only expecting to receive, okay, touchable without opacity wants only one child. So for that reason, we're gonna just put this into an empty tag for it to, so now the touchable opacity has only one child. So if we press on the song, we should see, yeah, we see nothing. Why we see nothing? console log playing. Let's check here. Why? Let's try a different touchable. On press, on play. Yeah, I think that's how. Touchable opacity from React Native. Okay, the touchable opacity now works. They just wrap the view inside it. Where is it? Yeah, let's try to see if we didn't mess up with the styles that we already have. And yeah, it works right now. Let's clean it a bit. Now we don't need this empty tag because our touchable opacity has only one view inside it. So when we press on it, we see playing here, and we need to implement the logic here. So what we need to do, we need to set in state, in context, to set the new song ID. So let's use the hook use context, and we need to provide a context here that we will import up context from up context. We will provide the use context here, and let's import the use context. The name of it will be also set song ID, because we need that function. So whenever we play, we set song ID to the song.id, and it will be this song. That's how we set a song ID into our global state using context API. The next thing will be to consume this ID into our widget and display a new song based on it. So let's go in our player widget index, and first of all, import our context, import up context from up context. We need the song ID from the context. Const song ID is equal to use context, and we pass the up context there. Import it. So now we have a song ID. Let's just let's just display this song ID instead of here near the title, to be sure that we are actually able to change the song and receive it here. So if we press here, we see the song ID just updates automatically. If we press on a different one, we see a different song ID. So we see that from one part of the application, we managed to update automatically a completely different component from our application without sending some stuff between them and that stuff, just by using the hook use context. Okay, we have our ID in the widget, and based on this ID, we will need to query our song from the database. So for that reason, we will say use effect. We will define here a function, and in this situation, our dependency is like when we need to run use effect, when we need to fetch data. We need to fetch data whenever our song ID is changing. So if we press on this, we need to run use effect and fetch data. Let's write here fetch data about song. When we press on a different one, the song ID will change, and we need to again run this one. Oh, sorry guys, let me, I forgot to make the emulator smaller. Thank you very much, Sai. Yeah, now I can make this one bigger as well. So for the dependencies, we will send the song ID, and it will make sure that we'll run this effect only when the song ID has changed. So fetch song, and let's define it here as fetch song as an async function with a try catch, of course, because we're gonna do a network call, console log error, and here we need const data equal to API GraphQL, and here GraphQL operation, and the query will be get song. The variables of a song will be song ID that we just received from the context. And let's console log data. So now we have to import the API and GraphQL operation from Amplify, API and GraphQL operation from Amplify, AWS Amplify. It's capital, yeah. And our get song add import statement, yeah, it imported from our queries. So let's save. Let me check where else I do console log player widget we want. Let's delete it from here to have less data. So let's save, go here, clean everything, press on a song, and yeah, we see promise because Vadim Dambas forgot to wait for the API call. Save, go back, and we see a song. Yeah, the difference is the name. So first one is beat or buts. Where is the title? Name somewhere. Yeah, here we see buts. We press on the next one, it fetches a different song with a name Lofi. That's actually very good for us because using this data we can, yeah, let's save it into a state song and set song use state null, use state null. All right, now let's set song to data.data.get song. Okay, we're not gonna need this one. Yeah, we're probably gonna get some errors because we have some null values and we're gonna need to check for it. But let's save. Yeah, null is not an object. That's what I was expecting. So let's have a look at how we play current song. So use effect play current song. Play current song is called in the first time the component mounts. but we don't want to do that. We want to play current song whenever we fetch the song from the database. So we're gonna call this one only when the song changes. And one more thing is, let's also check if song is null. That means that we want to return. We don't want to, no, let's do it the other way around. If song is true, let's play current song like that. Let's save. Null is not an object. Okay, I think here, yeah. Let's say if song is null, let's return null, because when there is no current song playing, we don't want to display the widget. So right now we don't see any widgets. That's actually very, very nice, and that's what we want to accomplish. But whenever we press on a song, it will query it and it will display it here. So let's remove a song ID from here. Let's save. And we see not just bets here, and if we change, we see a different song. I'm not sure if we will be able to hear if they're different songs. Let me try to restart. And let's make sure that we actually hear different songs loaded from the server. Okay, that's the first one. Let's check the other one. Yeah, we see that we can now press on a different songs and it will load and display in our widget everything connected with use context and fetching from the database. And we see that yeah, all the songs are different, and we can play them, stop them, and so on. How do you like these songs, guys? Yeah, I think that's I like the songs. How are they called? Yeah, that's a bit of surprise. Wait for it. I'm gonna come with more details. So yeah, I think we did a lot today, and we can call it a day. So let's recap what we managed to do today. Okay, the first thing is that we implemented the... Why it's so loud? Okay, let me... Okay. Yeah, we managed to play songs in our widget and not just display them in UI. We did that using Expo AV. We implemented like playing the sound, pausing, stopping the music, displaying the progress of a song. We can see it here moving as the song progresses. The next one, we set up our Amplify project in AWS. We created our database with all our models, which is a GraphQL API. And we connected everything to the front end by querying everything. Everything is dynamic. We can add more songs using the AWS console, and it will be displayed in our application. What else? Yeah, we made also the widget dynamic. So whenever we press on a different song, it will start playing another song. Yeah, we see here. It will display also the name of that song. And yeah, if we go back, the widget will be there. If we change pages, the widget will still be there, and we'll be playing the music that we play. So most probably I will publish this application, and I will put the URL into the description of the video of this video. So check it out and listen to the song that I'll provide. There will be some good songs that I'm preparing for developers. I will not give a lot of details about that right now, but there it is. I hope you enjoyed this video. Yeah, my voice is crashing so much. It's 3 hours. I can't talk. I can't think. But I just want to say thank you for everyone for joining and for sticking around until the end. Even with my crashes and my live streams going down. I definitely encourage you to yeah, follow along this build and try to do it yourself, and you'll be able to put it into your portfolio. So whenever you apply for a new company, you have a very clear and specific project to show to the company, and that will increase a lot your chances, because when you provide real project that you worked on, and not just some courses or some certifications or some knowledge, then the companies will look completely different than you at you. And also, like, this is the best way you can learn, just by doing, just by following, completing, even if it's just a clone. Like, you will learn so much out of it. And I try um, to give you guys all the best practices from the industry that I learned during my years of working at the startup, during my internship at Amazon that I learned. So everything is like very up to date, using TypeScript, Expo, AWS Amplify, and all the good stuff. So please let me know down below what you think about this build. If you manage to do it, please tag me on Instagram and I will give you feedback. And let me know what you would be interested in building the next time, and I will consider them. And next week we're probably starting a new build. We might continue on this one, you never know, but yeah, let me know. Thank you for watching, thank you for joining. As always, guys, stay hydrated, write clean code, and I'm out. My name is Jeff.